devastating. Oh.
Welcome to BST. We're here with former Tonga Rugby International, Brian Woolley. Malo lelei, brother.
Malo lelei, o ku whakawhetai o whakamalo peke o tua he ngawe lahi o ku whai e kautama Gwen, Shane mo te hau. He talanoa ke he well-being, my health, o ku mauhinga o pito. Ko hingoa ko Brian Woolley, ko whae o hau mi tonga tapu I talafa o. Ne hau whae pe mi tonga ki New Zealand o kumi ngawe, o kumi hawa ki mo ui. Ko ia pe. So I'll just talk in English now. So Shane, te hau, it's an honor and privilege to be here on this podcast. I love the work that you guys do, and also with Tiara. It's amazing, and thank you for sharing some of the previous podcasts. It's so eye-opening, and it's good to see some people I know that have been interviewed, and I can see this just growing and just going further. So just a little background in regards to I'm half Tongan, half Kiwi. My mother, Sita Betty Loviana Baloni, she's Tongan. She passed away 2 years ago from dementia. And our dad, he's Kiwi. He left us when we were young, so we're only being brought up by our mum. And she immigrated from Tonga to New Zealand, first one from our Tongan family, to seek a better life, work, make money, and send money back to the islands, and then start bringing some family over. So gradually, over the years, while mum worked for Poro Hospital, mum worked with many mums that work there that I know the kids, the offspring to those families. And to this day, there's still some families that I didn't even know my mother knew their mother, vice versa, until a funeral happened. So it was such a humbling experience. I'm the oldest of 3 siblings. I'm a 74 child, but luckily I look young.
Mum's jeans.
Followed by my brother. He's going through a bit of a health journey. He's a lot bigger than me. He's about 6'3". He's got the Tongan bones, but he suffered an aneurysm and just a few years back. It's not many people I know that survived it, but you can. And he's doing okay, but now he's just working on his well-being in regards to weight, eating well, and all that. So he's on his journey. And then my sister, Teresa Jane Woolley, she's married to a Samoan, Mose Pio, and his brother is James Ofai. I don't know if you know him, but yeah, so that's just a bit of background. I do understand the language, Tongan. I can talk and I know enough to get around the islands, thanks to mum and grandma, by instilling the heritage and the values and all that, the Pacific Island way, the way that we're brought up. We also did White Sundays, so you had to do your study.
So
yeah,
so you know.
So we know what White Sundays or hold on. We get one of these. And we're always promised if you do your lines well, you'll get McDonald's. But yeah, so that's just a little bit of background about me, my brother and my sister, and also my mum. So it's been a very humbling upbringing. And I've grew up in Ascot Park all my life. And the schools that I've gone to, Rangikura, had a great time there. Waitangi Royal Intermediate, we had the amazing time there. And back then we had probably the best playground in the country. The one that was at the back of the intermediate, and you could go all over the place. Very dangerous too. So there's not many got the opportunity to play in that playground, but there's a lot of memories. A lot of memories there. So went from Waitangi Intermediate to Aotea College, hard. Loved every minute there, and all I did was just carry a rugby book because I was so fascinated about rugby. School, after college, I did 2 years at Whitirea Polytechnic, and that was in regards to I always wanted to do something computing, but I didn't know what it was. So I thought I'll just do a computer course in business computing. That was 1 year. And then the second year was advanced certificate in business computing. Completed that. And my goal was to do a diploma, but unfortunately my rugby took over. So so that's just a bit of background in regards to heritage, where I grew up, yeah.
Now, I was going to ask at the beginning, Woolley is a very traditional Tongan name from Hapai, Nukupule. So I was going to be that, but you've answered, you've actually sort of explained that
Yeah.
to us as well. Look, Brian, I loved how you've opened in the Tongan language. I think it's something that, I feel very, very sort of envious in terms of that ability to that you've been brought up with that across those sort of dual languages and that as well. I mean, you talked about your mother and your grandmother in terms of instilling that in. You know, what's the language journey been like for you? Is it something that just became natural because it was from a child, or has there been an element of sort of a bit of evolution over time?
Yeah, so I think the key was that because we only spoke Tongan when we were young, so by the time we got older, it just became natural. My brother and sister are better speakers than me, and they're probably better listeners than me. So, but I know enough to get through and understand a lot. So, we were just lucky that Mum and Grandma wanted us to learn the culture, even though we're half caste, and that was very important for them. And I'm very proud of Mum and Grandma for doing that, because just so proud of the heritage and what Tongans bring to the table. No different to Samoans, Fijians, and all that. We're all brothers, we're all family. We all try and make a humbling living, but also look after our well-being and health. So yeah.
Look, how do you get back to Tonga often? I know sort of
Yeah,
more in this stage of my life, I've tended to try and keep that connection in
yeah,
terms of Samoa. How was it for you?
yeah. So prior to COVID, we used to go every year. So majority of our family are living in Wellington. We have family over in Auckland, but we still have family in our village,
Yeah,
and that's thanks to Mum bringing all the family over. She was the matriarch, and our family have so much respect for Mum for what she done. But yeah, I haven't been over lately. But so maybe end of this year, we'll go back and just connect with the first cousins and enjoy the swimming, beautiful food, going to the backyard plantation and helping out in 40-degree heat, and it's nothing like getting a fresh coconut, chop, 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 and just everything's an island time, and of course Sundays church, everything's closed unless you're at a tourist resort.
yeah.
But yeah, certainly miss home. But we used to go quite a lot. Mum used to take us when we were young, and I still remember my first trip. I must have been 3, and they were utilising horses and carts and all that to get around, and they were using kerosene lamps where there were no electricity back then. And those are the little memories I had growing up. A lot's changed now. There's a lot of influence from the Chinese and Indians in regards to shops and all that. So yeah.
Look, and there's been sort of a bit of that tension over the last sort of couple of decades as well. I remember there was a
Yeah.
riot in
Yes.
Nuku'alofa
Yeah.
as well.
Yep. Yep.
And I think Tonga's also going through a period around the impacts around climate change. If you look at the volcanic eruption, if you look at
Yes.
sort of
Yep.
cyclone season in the Pacific,
Yep.
I think it's just interesting your observations, given that you've sort of had that connection with Tonga over duration of your life.
Yeah. I mean, given that not only Tonga and the rest of the Pacific Islands and New Zealand, we're on the Pacific Rim of Fire, so it's a very volatile, unknown when these type of natural disasters do occur. And if a volcano goes, and like the one that happened recently, the sonic boom went around the world like 3 times,
Yeah.
and the satellites managed to capture the explosion from start to end. Our family members that were in Tonga at the time, the sonic boom was just neck level. If they thought it was the end of the world type of thing. You had to be there to actually experience it. And then the tsunami after that, depending where you are in Tonga, and all the other small islands and resorts were wiped out. And there were a few deaths here and there. But yeah, the thing with not only Tonga, but Pacific Islanders in general, that we're very positive, resilient people. We more focus on what we have and the volcanic fertility of the land, and they grow everything from the land, from taro to manioke to squash, and also live off the land in regards to fish. It's all that. So yeah.
Hey, brother Brian, I just wanted to ask you about Mum. Like you learn, obviously you learn heaps. Mum's not here with us.
Yeah.
And how I was sharing to you about my mum. She's not 100% too. So that must have been pretty hard. I mean, that's 2 years, man. That's still it's not long ago, wait.
It's pretty still raw for me. It's probably it was one of the reasons why I took voluntary redundancy, because I was still healing from the experience of losing the matriarch of our family. She was our rock. She was our everything.
Yes.
Prior to her passing away, she was diagnosed with dementia about 10 years ago. And we just saw little different things when first noticed, like leaving the tap water on or forgetting to switch off the light, to the bathrooms flooded and all that. So it was just a matter of time. We did get Mum diagnosed, so we knew she had some brain disease, but we knew nothing about dementia. So we decided that we're going to care for Mum. I look after Mum for the first 5 years in her house. She was still a little bit mobile. She had some bit of arthritis on the knees, and it was just a gradual decline. And then it got to the stage when it was time to move Mum from her home to my sister's up in Altair block, where Mum was just hitting another level of care. And so my sister basically left work to care for Mum full time. On top of that, my sister and us, we looked at the different types of services out there that not many people know about in regards to caregiving, the hospice support and all that. So we learned so much. It was very hard work to care for Mum because we chose to, and we didn't leave her at a rest home and all that. We were able to do that. When we needed a break, mentally, physically, and spiritually, we would take Mum to Dame Malvina Rest Home, and she'll spend the weekend there. And that was just all about looking after us mentally, physically, spiritually, and my sister. So my sister will look after Mum in the weekdays. I'll look after her in the weekends. So she did a lot of work, and it wasn't easy, and it took an emotional toll. But thankfully, Talanoa share with the family, quite strong. You've got to have each other's back. There are times you can get very upset, emotional, angry, because you feel hopeless that you can't do anything for Mum. It's a gradual decline. It got to the stage where the bowels were struggling to go to the toilets for number ones and number twos. There's times that she couldn't drink the water. We had to mash all that and then get her to swallow that. So that's just a little insight into the care that we gave Mum. I have a lot of respect for the caregivers out there that came in, did the showers and all that, and we did that too when the caregivers weren't there. So we now I know it's given me another level of humbleness, and it's made me a better person in regards to what Mum went through, and we were there right to the end. She took her last breath and all that. So yeah, it was hard, very hard.
Look, it does talk to just the sort of support that you guys as a family sort of pulled together in terms of caring for her. I know
Yeah.
probably, and I've seen a bit of a shift over time. And again, there's no sort of right or wrong way to it. I think it's
That's
based
right.
on situation, it's based on people's
Hang on.
circumstances. But I just think that you guys were able to work and structure around being able to support. I think that's very powerful, and because it does talk to our collective origins.
Yes.
Mm.
Yeah. It's, you're bang on there. I wouldn't wish dementia on anyone, but unfortunately, it's very common. And especially in our Pacific Island people. And it's right up there with heart attacks and strokes. So for me, it's just all about education. I do know a few other old rugby mates. They're going through the care of their mums and all that, and some of them have had to put them in rest homes. And I said, mate, there's nothing wrong with that. They're going to get the right care they need. It alleviates the stress for them because they have a lack of help, lack of family support and all that. And like you said, there's no right or wrong. It's just how things
And then look, it's good that you talk around the challenges as well, because one, I think while the concept of wanting to provide dignity to your parents or our elders is really important, that does it, given the nature of care or level of care needed, it can become quite stressful for people.
Yes.
And people react in different ways.
Absolutely. People do react differently. And sometimes you just got to let them have that rant, have that because they're just carrying a lot up here. Sometimes just releasing that tension, the stress, a good cry can do wonders for your soul, for your heart. And I had many cries while looking after mum. And for me, because I loved her so much, I never cried so much in my life. So when mum passed away, it felt like I had really mourned. If you, it was like, so by the time I did the eulogy and all that, I had run out of tears. It was all about standing tall, doing mum's eulogy, proud, and share her story. And that was for me the most important thing, is to get up in front of all the Tongans and all the friends, all the family, and just preach, this was my mum and you did it. And she managed to buy a house that was 20,000 back those days. The houses in Poroa in New Zealand were cheap, and her mortgage was about 80,000. She managed to tick away, just being a kitchen hand. Cost of living was very cheap back then. There were a couple of times that she almost lost the house, but she begged the bank that she can try and make those payments, and it helped with grandma being on NZ Super, so there's a bit of income there and all that. And so all my family know the struggles that my mum went through, and to keep this house, the blood, sweat and tears, and her faith in God was the number one thing. God, family,
Thanks for plugging the pod. Brian, look, one of what you just mentioned there, I reckon is really important. The most important speech you will ever give, and particularly as an older sibling, like in your situation, myself, the most important speech you're ever going to give is a eulogy to one of your parents. And you only get to deliver it once. And what were you, when you talked about some of this? I'm interested in your thinking, because I did the similar thing. What was your sort of, as you prepared to deliver that eulogy, when you thought about things around what you would say and that, what was sort of the process going through, knowing that basically we give many speeches, we talk in many places, but this one is the one they remember?
It's funny you say that, because everyone, when they talk eulogy, there's a particular format, but I decided to keep it, just keep it real, and just talk about her journey, her life, and what she did for our family. And we talked about all sorts, not going to school, not having qualifications, how hard of a worker she was as a kitchen hand. We basically took little snips of that and just delivered it one by one. But then the day it was her foundation: God, family, friends, work. those were the most important things that she taught us. And that's why when you called me onto this podcast, I could connect with you guys straight away. I could share what I know that you guys already know, but I'm just telling you my story from our Tongan side.
Yep.
And I know a lot of people will, if they do see this podcast, they've probably been through what I've been through, vice versa, or they haven't, or they've learned something new about this. So, yeah. So back to the eulogy. I had it all written down. Believe it or not, I lost the eulogy at the front. You wouldn't believe it. I had a heart attack. Basically, what I did is I put it down here.
Yeah.
Drop it in the coffin or something.
And one of the cousins was sitting on it. And you wouldn't believe the panic. I was at, oh my God.
Yeah.
I was traumatized.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my Lord. I said, please. And my cousin, oh, here it is. I go, oh my God. You wouldn't believe, can you imagine that?
Yeah.
I would have had to wing it with no notes and all that.
I thought you would have had it memorized.
I had it all written down because I wanted to deliver something. And the minister, thankfully, Devita Finau.
It's a Vita Finau.
Yeah. So we grew up with all, we're family and all that.
Yeah.
But he knew my mum. And there's not many ministers that will go and say, you did it. Mum did it in regards to her life, coming from Tonga to New Zealand, providing, working hard. And we didn't have much. We didn't have much growing up. And when I look back now, good jobs and all that, and I took redundancy and just having that 9 months off at the moment, just been updating my CV and just looking for new opportunities. And when I do, it'll probably just something non-IT, just something just simple, and just get back to BAU before I find something that in IT. But so the eulogy, like Shane, it's not easy. But at the end of the day is your mum's history, and you can deliver it the way that you it doesn't come down to who judges who or who's got the best eulogy and all that. It's all about just telling mum's story. It doesn't have to be long, just keep it high level, and also some funny stories and all that. But I mean, I always had a fear for eulogies, but because mum she did it for us, it just like there was no hesitation.
It comes, it just happens,
Yeah, it's like something in you just switches, and there's resilience, there's pride, there's proudness, there's love, there's all of above. If you know what I mean, and I'm sure you've been through that, Shane.
Look, one of the important things is that when you're doing that is, one, it's not about you, it's about how you celebrate the life.
That's it.
That. And to me, it's an element of how do you honor someone's life? How do you celebrate someone's life? And so it's with that oratory. And remember, we come from Pacific, very long lines, tradition of oratory. And so it's doing that thing. I mean, I've seen some that I think really, at least probably thankful they weren't there to hear it sometimes. But and I won't say any names, but in terms of stuff like that. But in terms of from a tonal thing of it, you really do honor to your parents in terms of what that is, and celebrate their life. So that, again, I think it's the most important speech you ever give. There is no other speech I think is of real value. No, nothing trumps it. So no, it's good. And look, having been through it, I know the sort of all the angst and that as you get there, and then to be able to make sure you deliver on the day, sort of like rugby, you perform on the day.
Basically, that's and my mum's funeral was immaculate, beautiful. Everyone left that funeral saying it was a beautiful day. The way it was delivered, all sides of the Tongan customs with the mats, the gifts, and all that. So we went neck level in regards to the traditional cultural things, and sometimes you know, oh, I didn't know this was part of the cultural, you know, someone's just adding another rule. But yeah, bit of banter there. But yeah.
I remember culture's evolutionary, so it has to move with the times and environment. Hey, look, one of the things you touched on that's really important is that your mother was part of a group, and particularly the woman that worked at Poro Hospital, Kenepuru
Yes.
Hospital, in the
I've
kitchen.
got a lot of, yeah.
You will see a lot of their offspring
Yes.
have sort of gone on
Yeah.
to a number of things now.
Yeah.
Also
Good
a very
place.
staunch union place in terms of
Yep.
those kitchens.
Yep.
So look, you being in and around there in terms of mum, was there any sort of observations you made in terms of being able to mix with those very strong Pacific women?
Yeah. So it's funny because I forgot to mention, Mum also worked at Russell Kemp.
Russell
she
Kemp.
she got made redundant at Poro Hospital. Well, she took retirement, semi-retirement, and she got a nice payout and all that. And then she went to Russell Kemp. But yeah, I met some of those Pacific Islanders when I used to pick up Mum. You know, I always go, you know, and take the car, pick up Mum, and I always wait, or I'll go in. And their personalities, mate. You know, they do the mahi, but their personality, they're laughing. They're talking about overtime, penal rates, what time and a half, double time, and all that. You know, they're talking about the union. And the thing with the Pacific Islanders and the Poro Hospital, when it comes to overtime and all that, and the union, they weren't quiet. They speak from the heart. You know, knowing their rights and all that. And sometimes, you know, courageous discussions with a lot of emotions and all that. But yeah. You know, it's when it comes to that, they were very strong and passionate, and so they should. So yeah, it was just very humbling.
Very strong group of women and great organisers in terms of just from they're organising their families, organising the church, but also around their workplace. I knew that there were some really strong personalities, and heaven help the Palangi manager.
You bang on there, mate. Oh God, that's so funny, man.
Yeah, that's cool. So hey, look, I know we were going to get into your rugby, and look, there's a few things to cover, but I'm just thinking the first question that I had that I thought was intriguing for me was you're a Parramatta Plim junior. So what was it like to play for these skinny white kids and then get sort of overloaded by Norths when you play Norths? And
you wait till you hear this story. So I played for the under seventh grade Tigers in 1987. Christian Cullen's dad was our coach. Christian Cullen was in our team. We never lost a game. We were the best of the best. So
were you one of those teams that just give it to one or two players
we would beat Norths, we'll beat Paraparaumu and all that. We won all our games. We won all the sevens tournaments at age grade, and I think I might have been the only Islander because we had a couple of Māoris and a couple of Balangi. Yeah. And I knew Christian Cullen's part Samoan too, so he counts as an Islander too, through the dad. So Parramatta, my first club.
Well, bro, I apologize. I was stereotyping then.
we just
going to college. Oh my God, playing against.
So you're saying with that team that you never lost the game. So you had Christian. You had Christian Cullen.
Yeah,
so who was the other guys? Dan Carter, Richie McCaw.
We played them, but different generations. So
Hey, so look, I defer back to you. My apologies.
So went from Parramatta to Aotea College.
And something we were talking about offline before that. Yeah. So you and I are both first 15 alumni for Aotea College.
Yeah, that's right.
I during a more leaner period when they were sort of like the Buller and Wairarapa Bush of Wellington Rugby College. But tell us about your first 15 experience and also your big trophy appearance.
3 years of first 15 was a combination of Prem 2, Prem 1. When you played, when you look at the caliber of talent in Porirua at that time, I don't think you will get a better generation of players in regards to the Viard colleges. You had the Savalio brothers, you had Joe Falamu, you had C.O. Thomas, and there's many other players.
Calamity
Mana
brothers?
College, yeah, Mana College, you had the Websters, Graham Webster, Vili Calamete. He's an absolute amazing player at fullback. Torpedo, mate, yeah. Boy, he could tackle. Another guy called Filippo Lanador. There was just so many players. Poro College, they had big players. They were okay, but not quite up to the Viard and Mana College. Ali Coco, he's living in USA with his French family and all that. It was for our first 15 year, we weren't many islanders. There's majority Balangi, but we weren't the biggest pack. We just relied on fitness and all that. But yeah, we struggled. We couldn't compete with VR. They had like amazing tight five, great loose forwards. They were a genuine first 15 college that could compete with any other college in the country. That's how good they were. Aotearoa College back then weren't that level because we didn't have that caliber. But yeah, because we love rugby, we'll just go die for the jersey, and then we're all mates after the game. But during the game, hey!
So who did you play in the Beard Trophy? Did you play more than one sort of Beard Trophy game?
I think it was a one-off. To be honest, I don't have much. I can't even remember the game. So I don't know if it was a Viard or a Mana. But we got absolutely thrashed. Like I said, with the caliber back then, it's just they were just too powerful for us. Yeah, they were just another level of the talent and size. So yeah, from Aotearoa College, I went on to Wellington Club. So some of the top Poro players, myself, Joe Falamu, CEO, Graham Webster, and all that, we got drafted over to Wellington Club, the Axemen.
That's Brian. That's one thing I'm keen to talk about, because you were in a period prior to sort of that Renaissance period for Norths, and also you had this in rugby league where a lot of players left the area to go play for either teams in the heart or teams in the city.
Exactly.
I think what was sort of, it'd be good for you, given that people have had that experience of Norths, but good for you to talk about that sort of environment and what was sort of going on at the time.
So what I'll do is I'll talk about Western Bays rugby. That was an initiative by Norths in regards to getting the top players playing for Western Bays, and also they did camps at the Alston camp where they brought all the Poro players and all that. But I think the influence from outside of Porirua, it sort of branched players to go to Wellington Club, Poneke, Tony, and all that. So the thing is that even at schoolboy rugby, a lot of the top Poro players were taking scholarships at Wellington Cole and all that. So you're basically losing players already before you even get the club rugby because of the poaching. Well, I wouldn't say poaching, but opportunities to better themselves.
What are you contractors at one of those clubs at the moment?
So rugby back then, Norths could have had a number of Jubilee Cups over the years. I mean, so I went from playing Colts senior ones to Prems for Wellington Club, and then CEO decided that he was going to go to Johnsonville Rugby Club. So I went there and followed Graham Webster and all that. So we ended up winning the 1998 Swindale Shield that year. Unfortunately, the second round for the Jubilee Cup, we're on international duty, so we missed the second round. So I'd go and play for Tonga. Bill Kavabati will go and play for Fiji. You had the Sane Ta'alas, the Leifa Ta'alas, and those boys go and play international for Samoa. Wellington Club Rugby back then at Premier level was the best of the best, because that was before pro rugby, before it turned pro. So you basically had All Blacks still go and play for the All Blacks, and then they'll fill in for the team the next day, because there was no sanctions back then. You could do that. and they were very passionate. Like for me, as if I played for Tonga, I'll be back at training, ready to rip it with the Johnsonville Rugby Club, and we could do that. But a lot of that changed. I think they put some rules in place where you couldn't just go straight back to club rugby. But so you played against the Tanoamangas, the Christian Cullens, and there are a lot of and back those days, MSP, Patonis, the Ponakers, those clubs were very strong back then.
So Johnsonville, Johnsonville sort of hasn't won that Jubilee, and then it probably could have happened in the 90s because of international duty.
Yeah. So I'll tell you a funny story. So in 2000, we made the Jubilee Cup semi-final. And believe it or not, I picked up a career-ending injury against Petone a couple of weeks prior, and I basically fractured my shoulder blade in two, hairline fracture with blood in the rotator cuff. You can recover from that. Unfortunately, I just didn't get the right medical advice and probably didn't do the rehab best I could to strengthen. Apparently, when you fracture the shoulder blade, it comes back stronger. You don't need any pins or any cast. It self-heals. But you lose. So what? Basically, when I had the injury,
who told you that? Was that your uncle or the Tongan doctor?
Tongan doctor. We all have the island doctor. And so when I fractured the shoulder blade and the blood, so the physio came onto the field. He goes, "Oh, Brian, you've gone all pale. That's when you're in shock." And basically what he did is he moved my arm, and then he got the magic water. So he got the magic water, put it on here. He said, "You'll be right." So so what I did is I moved to the blind side on the wing as a first five, and everyone went right. And I couldn't move this arm. The halfback passes the ball to me. I just kick it down, and I just walk off because I knew I was gone. I couldn't do anything. And then the rest was history. The manager took me to Wellington Hospital. We did some scans, and then we knew the severity. So my season was done. And then that week leading into the next trainings and all that, I had a call from Wayne Guppy and Dave Rennie that I made the Wellington Lions. But unfortunately, I never got to play because of my injury and not knowing this was going to take me 3-4 years to get it right. And when you get an injury like that or any other injury, it affects your confidence. It affects the way that you come back, and you don't quite come back the same player. And it played on my head. You get a bit of anxiety and depression, and it was tough. But I was just thankful that I did get 17 caps with Tonga. Played a lot of sevens, and I also played a lot of rep rugby with all our lay blackjacks. We went to Samoa.
Yes.
So our team was like Steve Soialo, Ali Koko, Sene Ta'ala, Rod. We travelled the whole country. The Wellington sevens that we had, mate. The photos I got with some of these players, mate, it was like the dream team. It was just humbling. The whole experience has been humbling. When you eat, sleep rugby, it only lasts for so long, and you when you're young and all that, you think that's all you're going to do all your life. But reality kicks in. It's just like your work career. It only goes for so. It's not forever. Everything's temporary, right? We're all just living like pain is temporary. It's like you get a bruise and then you come right. It's like I'm that type of guy. Is like you drop the ball, you just move forward. You don't dwell on it. But a lot of people still dwell on that, or they still dwell on something that's happened years ago, like happened yesterday, but they can't move forward. And it's very hard to articulate, that type of mindset. Sorry, I'm going a bit off track there. But
no, that's cool.
No, bro, you're fine.
I wanted to ask you, Brian, because that 1999 World Cup.
Yes.
You played Italy. I was telling Shane when I watched it, I was like, man, they shouldn't have took you off.
No. So that game there, I was carrying a groin injury. So I'll tell you the we spent 6 months in Johannesburg in South Africa. So our forwards coach was Guy Keble. He was the Bulls Springbok prop. He's for a job. He was into mining and diamonds and gold, and that he was very well off. So yeah, we stayed in Joburg, and we actually stayed in a place outside Joburg called Midrand. And our away was Pretoria, which is the home of the Bulls, the heart of South African rugby. I forgot to mention that. Yeah, that training session, 8,000 feet above sea level. So when we trained, it took us weeks to acclimatise. So sometimes your throat will bleed because you know the lack of oxygen and all that. But by the time we came back to sea level, and we came to London, we're based in Bristol, mate, we felt like Superman, mate. You could just like bang, bang, the recovery. And you know, you had your supplements with protein, creatine for recovery and stamina. But yeah, mate, it was just unbelievable.
So basically, you were doing altitude training and
basically, And now I know why the ball, when you kick it, goes so far. But the South Africans are all playing at altitude, unless you're in Cape Town down at sea level. You know, they've almost got a head start fitness-wise. It's a different level of fitness. Yeah,
it is, and I mean that's why there's been that dominance of Kenyan runners and that at the Olympics and Ethiopia, because they're training at that altitude and then come down to sea level and then blitz everyone in the races. Because that last it's not actually the competitive during the race, it's that last end of the race where they've got a lot more sort of energy and
more in the tank. Their blood cells can take more oxygen and it travels through the body. And it just means they can go forever.
And then, look, in that game against Italy, I think that's you could see some of that in terms of that run towards the end, in terms of holding the lead in that at the end.
It's funny because the guy that hit the drop goal, Sateki Tuipolotu, who actually won the game for Tonga, he lives in Australia. I still catch up with him. He's a great guy. But before the game, we were practicing drop goals. And I told him, you practice your drop goal because, you know, he's a gun to drop goal. He could drop goal from halfway or the 10 metre in the other side. That's how good he's got like a golf swing. So when he hit that in the very overtime against Italy, it was just flush. I knew it was going to go over because it's just heat of the moment. You don't think, you just do it. Yeah, as soon as you think, miscue.
And look, I know that was a big game in terms of the tournament, and you were in a pretty tough pool with England and the All Blacks. But there was a whole campaign through the year in terms of qualifying and that. I'm keen in terms of just what your experience was from sort of the qualifying right through to the tournament. Yeah,
so qualifying, we played Tonga. We played Samoa and Fiji. We played them, and I think we played them over in Oz and Australia A. We didn't win those games. And what happens is you go into a repechage. And the repechage is we had to play Tbilisi in South Korea. So Tbilisi, which is Georgia, Georgians, which are on the outskirts of Russia. So we had to fly over to Russia, minus 10 degrees, and
a whole lot of rebels in the hills and Russians on the border. So really good.
Yeah. So it's a different world. It was an eye opener. So when you walked into the bank, they had two guys with machine guns. It was like Hogan Heroes. You know, at that time, people be holding guns walking past you. They had a McDonald's there, which was great, and we would go. But believe it or not, for breakfast we got served goat tongue and all these. Yeah. That's because that's their culture. They love their wine. The Georgians are very lovely people. They've got a rich in history. If you ever search up the internet, the history of Georgia, you'll be blown away. It's just that's one of the perks with rugby is traveling. And it was just fortunate that because we failed to qualify for World Cup, we had to go through Tbilisi, Georgia.
What was Georgia like? What was Georgia like in terms of the rugby supporters, but also the actual game? How did they play?
So basically, there were no supporters at the game. We were surrounded by the army with machine guns. So basically, up on the board,
was that a message to you guys to not qualify?
and believe it or not, up in the border, the Georgians were fighting the Russians. Right?
Yes,
This is live. Yeah. So it's a very, it was just a great experience. You know, we all get to see the world, and that is a story.
Was this the only time Tongans were intimidated?
Well, I tell you, -10 degrees. That is cold, mate. For us Islanders, especially the locals, like, they've never experienced. Like, I came back sick, coming back to the normal warm weather. Just a temper change. I actually got sick for a week. Yeah, it took a while to recover. It was that bad. Yeah. But you could see the old remnants of the Soviet Union when they were that powerhouse. You could tell Georgia must have been an amazing, beautiful place with the architecture and all that. But when we were there, it was like you could see the remnants of the war, bullet holes, a lot of begging. It's very tough life. Very tough life. No difference anywhere else in the world. Just like South Africa, you know, they don't have a benefit system. That was the other thing I forgot to share is where we stayed in the hotel. I think it was a Days Inn or something like that. Next to us was just a shack. So what we used to do is give our leftover breakfast, leftover lunch, leftover dinner to the homeless. We did a rugby clinic. It's in the Soweto camps. That's like the heart of South Africa. It was very humbling. They love the Tongans, and they know what the Tongans are all about. They're all about church. They're all about the people. I've had so many experiences. Like it's just like, you know, I just remember that, you know. So it's sort of like scattered with.
Hey, look, it's definitely an experience, and one that, you know, sort of. Boy from Parramatta Plum, you know, get right out of the water, fish out of water. Hey, so that qualifiers. What was the key game that got you into heading towards the World Cup?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Georgia, or I can't remember if it was Georgia or South Korea. I think it was South Korea. We played them in Seoul. Actually, Seoul, beautiful. We stayed in the main Olympic hotel, and there's an Olympic park. And they played music. It was just like a different world. But I tell you, their food is amazing.
It is.
So the hotel that we stayed at, you go to the top and it rotates. It's almost like the Hong Kong Furama Hotel where we stayed at. Is big buffet, and you get to see the whole of the area, you know, while you're eating or having breakfast or dinner and all that. Yeah. So amazing place. Highly recommend it. Even though, you know, the North... Kim Shook, you know, North Korea and the US soldiers and all that. And even though the recent coup in South Korea, where the president, you know, so it's
I mean, that was weird. He tried to sort of take over the government. It backfired. The government said, parliamentary or their equivalent of parliament said no.
Yeah.
And then the military said, oh, we're not involved. And so it was like, dude, what are you doing?
So, it's through rugby, you know, we got to see the world. It didn't cost a thing. And we made a lot of friends. Not many people get to do that. I'm just thankful. My work ethic was to train hard. It didn't matter how big you are or how small you are. If you have the heart, you have the skill set, and you're strong mentally. Because when I grown up being a rugby player, they say, "Oh, you're too small, Brian," you know, and that just made me stronger as a player. And I had speed to burn. And I had a sidestep, and I'll always beat my first man, so I was known as a hot stepper. But thankfully, I had a heart too, so that I wasn't afraid. I just did it. I was the smallest, skinniest guy, even in club rugby. I wasn't the biggest dude. It wasn't until I played for Tonga and then actually knew. You know, I wasn't a gym guy. I was a runner, so I learned the art to actually do the weight training, lift the bench and all that. I was a heavy bencher too. I struggled to do 100 kilos back then because I wasn't a Jimmy, but I learned all that over time. Some of the boys that I play rugby with, they love the gym, so they already head start and conditioning, strengthening, and all that. It was a whole different dynamic. Yeah. So thanks to rugby, I got to see the world, connect with people all over now, and yeah.
In terms of qualifying and going into the tournament, what was the team goals or what was the team objectives in terms of pool play?
Yeah, well, I think when you're in the pool of death and you're playing the best in the world in that pool, I hate to think, we're just making up the numbers, but we're just thankful, just play your best. I mean, when we played the All Blacks, one of our players knocked out Tana and I think he got sent off or yellow carded. It wasn't until Jonah Lomu got on that they pulled away from Tonga that day. Tonga went for physical domination and it almost worked. But we knew, Lomu, oh mate, his cousin was playing with us. So he came into our changing rooms. Wayne Smith came in and just thanked the players, and it was very nice to mingle with even the Wellington All Blacks there the aftermatch. Not many people get to see the aftermatch, and it's speeches, no different to club rugby or rugby league, but you're with the best in the world. And to be around, it's like I'm next to this guy, he's going, wow. And the fact that you play rugby against Christian Cullen and the Tanas, these guys, and I'm playing with the Tongan team. It's just surreal. You're on cloud nine, mate. It's just, and yeah.
How was Twickenham in terms of I know the result, but it would have been just the privilege of playing.
Amazing, unbelievable. Right. The English. The Rose, Sweet Low, and all that when they sing it. Even the game against England, the boys scored a fantastic set piece try. But the English supporters are great, fantastic. They love their rugby, they love their footy, great people. And there's a lot of Kiwis over there too. So, the Kiwis influence have a big influence in UK rugby and world rugby, France and all that. But it was Twickenham. I highly recommend it. If you've never been there, go there and experience an international game, Six Nations, or or follow one of the Pacific Island teams if they're playing England. I think England at the moment are rebuilding. They had a good win. I think they beat France by 1 point. So Twickenham. It's amazing stadium, huge.
No, it would have just what you take away? What's the one memory you take away that is something that's really of real significance to you about that experience in 1999?
I think the brotherhood that we built within the team, the management, the coaching, because we spent so much time together, we got to know each other so well. And because us Tongans are they love singing, they love laughing, they love, it's just that whole culture. And for me, it's like, I'm still in contact with all these great players and their kids, and have gone on to play for Wales, gone to play the Vunny Bowlers playing for England, Maka and all that, the hooker and number 8, but they've sort of done their time with England. It's just for me it was just the people, the travel, and you only get to experience that once in a lifetime. Some get to experience that twice, 3 times at the most.
Well, look, those great experiences as a young man in your 20s and international travel and stuff. I'm just keen in terms of when it became that sort of next step of your life, and you'd already started sort of looking at something around sort of IT and that through Polytech post school. I mean, those lessons sort of take you into that next sort of chapter for you post play?
Yeah, you're funny you say that. Given that I picked up this injury, and thankfully, before I had left for the World Cup, I had already had my foot in the door with MSD, with the card centre and all that. And my boss back then, he said, just come back with an international rugby jersey. Your job will be still waiting there for you. I was actually meant to go and play contract rugby in Japan. But unfortunately, because of this, I had to go back to basics, go back to work. And thankfully, things just fell out for me professionally, work-wise. And I got my foot in the door into IT and then into major incident management. So regards to my professional career, I never thought I would ever be a major incident manager in IT. So basically, that role was all about managing core system disruptions, outages, where they affect 13,000 of frontline staff across New Zealand for, they're known as WINS officers. And we have contact centres in Auckland, Hamilton, Wellington, Lower Hutt, Christchurch, and these are all critical services that need to stay up from a telephony perspective, because they need to take calls from the clients. And for me as an IT professional, and I've managed so many priority 1, priority 2 incidents, and worked with many infrastructure teams from network, voice, network data.
Brian, what's a priority? What's a rough idea of
So priority is like a SEV1, so like a core application. For example, for MSD, it's CMS, it's Client Management System. And basically that contains all client information regarding name, date of birth, your benefit history, your emergency contacts and all that. So a priority 1 is a core service that when it goes down, that impacts 10,000 staff. And normally you have documentation, like a handover document to say, this is the service. Why is it a critical tier 1? You need to have HA resilience in regards to, if the server fails, can we flick over seamlessly without impact and all that. So tier 1 is a critical service that is reliant on key infrastructure, but the impact is severe if it goes down. Yeah.
So you make all the magic happen when
yeah. So I coordinate the technical resources from various teams, from middleware to database. It could be network. It just depends on the nature of the issue, because in the back end, like for example, CMS client management system, it relies on 7 client servers. Behind that, you got a whole lot of databases, and then on top of that, you have a F5. It's traffic control, throttling of the data, full simplex, full duplex data in regards to how data flows and how you can throttle. For example, you have 7 servers, but we can go without 5 and run just on 2. But the thing is, they like to spread the load. So if one person, like if I log in and I had a server that's having an issue, we can block that server and I can reconnect to a working one. There's different types of resilience.
So this is all the techie stuff.
It's all techie. The thing is, I just, for me, it's like, because I've been at MSD for so long and I know what their tier 1 services and tier 2 services, which are critical to the business unit. There's many different business units that when they say this is down, I know who to call.
Yeah. So do you cover stuff like privacy? Do you cover stuff like access and sort of sharing information?
So we do have a privacy team. Sometimes the privacy team have a policy and process in regards to how to respond to a privacy or security incident. So we do have those processes in place. So not only in major incident, you have your standard IT outages, you do have privacy, you do have security incidents, for example, DDoS, denial of service, where Russian hackers are clogging up our network, which means we can't use it traffic-wise. Yeah.
Were they some of the guys you met in Tbilisi?
Yeah. There's that talent. Get him now. He's over there. Flood the traffic now. Yeah. So I'm very privileged to work with so many great IT professionals, not only at MSD but also at One New Zealand, Spark, Soprano, many other vendors that not many people will know. Like Soprano, they're specialised in two-factor authentication for SMS. So a lot of applications like MyMSD external website where clients can log in, two-factor authentication, where it's just another level of security to protect them when they log in if they forget their password and all that, and self-service. So digital wise, technology has come a long way from when I started to where it is now. So when I started, I just had a terminal with Ethernet cable going to the wall. There was no CPU; it just connected to a server. But later on, you had your hard drive, desktop, flash desktop, flat screens, and all that. Remember the old CRT fat, heavy screens with the 386s, 486s, and all that. So Pentiums and all that. The technology is just evolved so much. It's just crazy. And just
is it giving you a surprise in terms of that? And is government using that top end equipment in terms of the development?
So
sort of commercial use.
The thing we talk about legacy applications. And they always talk about phasing out and moving into the cloud. But sometimes the cloud is not the answer. So we've looked at MS Teams. It's a way to communicate via chat and take calls. Via Microsoft, and there have been nationwide outages through the cloud, and the cloud is meant to be rock solid. You're going from old different technologies with telephony and all that, and jumping into Teams is a new way of M365. It's So the technology's evolved, but when you work for public service, it's all about money. Business proposal, what's the 3 to 8 year plan in regards to strategic planning of our current technology, and where do we want each of these technologies to go moving forward to make it resilient and make it better for our customer, which is our beneficiaries, our clients that need the student loans, student allowances, hardship, payment card, job seekers benefit and all that. We need resilient technology to serve, because we want our customers to have a great experience. But it's going to take time to give them that amazing experience.
What do you think the evolving role of artificial intelligence will sort of play, particularly more in the public service space? And were you seeing any of it in terms of just
So AI is what they refer it to. Artificial intelligence. In a nutshell, AI is about creating systems that can perform tasks that would normally require human intelligence, like understanding natural language, recognizing patterns, making decisions, and more. It's a fascinating field that is constantly evolving, but I think to keep it simple, like they have GPT chat, Copilot. I'm not sure if you heard of that. Now
we know about it. We've been playing on it.
Yeah.
That's why we asked you the question.
To keep it simplistic, GPT chat is a good way to say, hey, I want to write a speech about anything. It could be about
my eulogy,
or write up a job description, all that. And all you do is you just type it in or copy and paste it into the chat. And what will happen is it will just do its thing, and it'll come back very professional, very simplistic. The thing you just need to worry about, because it's a bit Americanized with the spelling, so you'll be caught out if you've used GPT chat or Copilot. And it's the short thing about AI. It's all about efficiency. It's things that a human does takes time can be done quicker, right?
Yeah.
But the thing is, there are pros and cons with artificial intelligence.
What are the
But
pros and cons? What are they?
well, I mean, efficiency is one. AI, when we talk about robotics, the technology has been heavily used in robotics where they may take over the world. We talk about AI chips being planted in humans, in the brain and all that. You know, there's just so much pros and cons, and it depends who you talk to. There are people there, oh no, it's fine. But it just comes down to your business need, private or public, and what AI can do for their business at the end of the day. And that comes down with research, talking to AI experts, vendors, and all that. So I'm still new to it. It's a big buzzword. Sometimes it's quite scary when something gets introduced. What is it? You know, and sometimes I don't really understand it, you know, and you know, sometimes you've got to go and take an AI course to really understand what the concept is. Some people pick it up, some don't. You know, some are still don't want to move to the new world and are just happy how things are now. But you've got to evolve with times. But you can't keep everyone happy. There's always going to be someone not happy. But it is what it is. You know, it's just like, you know, growing up, we only had Walkmans, CDs. We didn't have internet. We didn't have, you know, it was
cell phone too.
you know, it was very slow internet at home with the modems, right? You look now with, you know, back then was like twisted pair going through your phone line. Now you've got fiber optics, you know. It's you know, your internet at home now is just like super quick. Download speeds, uptime, upload, download. You basically can run a business from home and not leave the home.
Not leave the home and not leave your phone.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. But the thing is, what I learned during COVID with the lockdowns, even though I spent most of the time at work, but when I did work from home during the COVID, Jesus, I must have packed on about 8 kgs going to the fridge. You know, just too much eating.
Hey, look, this is a good segue into your own health journey.
Yeah.
We know you've been sort of out and about biking, and you've been biking. You know, we've gone on rides and that together. Just what sort of started you on this particular journey right now that you're on?
Oh, right. So I've always been into you know, running, exercising, and all that. And it was just by chance. Finley had always been Finley and Finns, who
Yeah,
you know,
we know of them.
who's CSP Cycle Safe Poroa. And for me, it was just a way to connect to the local community. And then I heard Finney talking about you, Shane, and like I've heard good things about you, but to actually to join and get a bike and just you know, like we had that coffee down when we did the ride from Westpac to Shelley Bay, and just get to know and share. And at the end of the day, we're just very basic Pacific Islanders who are laid back and just love to have a good talk about anything. And just talk life. So my journey was just to get a bike, join this club, and most importantly, connect with the people I don't know, and just build that network and just help and share my life experience with them. And we all have a journey. We all have different chapters in our journey, and it's all about talking, being there for each other, whether it be health-wise, work-wise. You know, if you're going through a hard time, I like to think that the club is another avenue to share with people that you can connect with. Like with Te Hau, I've connected very nicely with when we did that ride from Otaki to Paramu. And it was a pleasure for me to get to know you and all that, and just get you a nice simple coffee. And you're very thankful and all that, and you're very humble. And I was blown away by your, you know. So
he's always trying to get a free coffee. Right?
I'm trying to get free coffees from Finns. I'm buying them too many breakfasts.
Hopefully you get us on this weekend.
But yeah, no. So back to the health and well-being. For me personally, it's very important. That's why sometimes I post on my Facebook story down South Coast or doing sprints and all that. Those that know me know that I'm very active anyway. But the biking is something, another tool to my belt in regards to keeping fit and just connecting to Pororoa and the community. That's important to me. Just, trying to live my life through my mum's eyes and what she did in her journey.
Nice.
That's I don't want to get too high level on the well-being and all that. Mental health, we all have mental health. It's just the tool sets that we all learn. Like, if you get angry or you feel like you need to take a breather, go for a walk. If that's not going to fix it, call someone. If you're not, jump online, share with someone, don't be afraid. Life is short. We don't live a long life. For me to be still walking, still be able to run and sprint at 50 is a blessing.
Sprint.
Yeah. There's not many of my friends that can still, I'm blessed with good hamstrings and calves. So
I tried to go from Mungevin Bakery over to the car, which was parked on the other side of the road, to the Mungevin Hall. I sort of tried to jog over, and it was a bit of a farce. It was a bit farcical.
Yes.
It would have been okay to ride over there, but no, I couldn't run it.
Yeah. So again, guys, I just want to say thank you, just for the opportunity to share. I know we've covered a lot. I could talk all day. I could talk for weeks. But again, I love what you guys do.
We'll just get you back on, bro.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, there's nothing like a good talanoa about life and and what's happening at that time. So we just got to look after ourselves, and like yourself, Tahal. I know you're going through some hard times, and just stay strong, resilient, and and you're already chatting to me via chat about my experiences. So and frankly, your sister, your wife, and your family. That's important to have a strong foundation. Not everyone have it, and that's why have friends, work colleagues that you can share with. It's very important. Yeah, so I'm always there for a coffee or a talk about anything, or pretend to be an expert at something.
I appreciate it, bro. Thank you for the. I wanted to say, thank you personally, bro, and I can't wait till we hook up the next time when we go with Finn and the CBS boys, the team. So now thank you, bro, for your encouragement. Yeah,
cool.
No, it's all good, mate. I'm all about positivity, and
A great share, Brian. Great talanoa, and definitely, in terms of the stuff that you shared, very powerful. One across just family, across sport, and sort of those great experiences that you had. A bit of geek talk on the IT, and then just that health journey. And it's good. I thought it was, you touch on the good side, the physical and the mental. Always that they go together in terms of supporting each other, in terms of our well-being. So, mate, thanks a lot, and we'll see you. We'll definitely see you back on at some stage. So, maloa pito.
Yeah, malo pito.
Thank you for having me. Until we meet again, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.